Hello everyone, welcome back to Analysis Trends. I'm Rupam, I'm currently a business analyst. I hope you have already watched my previous video that is on the chapters 2.1 to 2.3, which is covering the core concepts, key terms, and then the requirements. In this video, we are going to cover the stakeholders and requirement design topics in the chapter 2. If you have not already watched the previous video of chapter 1, please go ahead and watch in the playlist that is Babok Learn Along series. So let's get started with the ECBA series of 2.4 and 2.5 section in this video. Moving forward, the 2.4 is basically a stakeholders. So as per the Babok guide, it says that the Babok has listed few of the stakeholders are not only the stakeholders who are obviously involved in the business analysis activities, but other than that, there are many stakeholders who are directly or indirectly involved. Some of the stakeholders mentioned here are the one who would definitely be a part of the role as well as will be available in your organization as well during the project initiation or during the project planning or while you're testing it, right? So everyone will be included directly or directly. So anyone who is included or being a part of the project directly or indirectly is called a stakeholder, and definitely a stakeholder will have an influence, an impact, or authority to make a decision as well. So let's go into one by one into each of the stakeholders listed in the Babok. So the first one is business analyst. So the business analyst is a stakeholder basically who actually is the first or like a person who actually initiate the business analysis activities and move that particular process to an extent of making the project successful, right? All the activities performed during the business analysis project, all the activities that are related to BA will be performed by business analyst. Okay, and he's moreover responsible for execution of these activities, right? Then the customer. The customer is basically can be a person who can be an individual or a company, but it might be a way that it uses of services or product provided by an enterprise, right? So a customer will be a client or a customer will be an individual as well, but they have moreover like a contractual basis. They work on the contracts. And now the point is, sorry, as an enterprise work to the customer in the case of contracts, and they provide the product or services to use them. So that's a customer. The domain subject matrix is the one who actually is a knowledgeable person about that subject. So the one who has a domain knowledge is a domain subject matter expert. Uh, he will have or he or she will have an in-depth knowledge of the business, of the process they are working in, right? Uh, or the systems they are working in. So anyone who is also an end user of the system will be also a subject matter expert, or the managers within their team, or the legal staff, or the process owner are some of the few simultaneous or you can say parallel role for subject matter expert. Why we need to understand this? Because as a business analyst, if you want to understand the process, the end-to-end process, how the process work, it's better to communicate with the end users or the process owners or the managers of that particular team. So that will help you to know the process very well from the base, from the starting point till what they do on day-to-day basis. The end user is nothing but who actually uses that product, who directly interact with the product. Uh, so in a simple terms, if if for example if you need a chocolate, then I'm an end user. Like kids need chocolate, and their mom go to shop and buy them. So the mom is customer who is actually buying that product, but the end user is a child because he will eat it, he will directly interact with it. So that's where the end user in a simple terms. So end users can be all the participant of business processes who actually use that product, right? End user can also be a subject matter expert. Yes, that's possible. Next is implementation subject matter expert. It is moreover related to how that subject matter expert is now dealing with. So this is not regarding the product or the process. This is regarding the implementation of the project. So he will have a greater understanding of how to implement a solution, right? So like for example, developers, all the senior architects, all the software architects, database administrator, knows about their individual knowledge, right? They are good at their own domain knowledge, like database, like architect or the software developers or the quality analyst or testers, right? Or analyst. So they are good at their knowledge. They are good at their subject. So that's the reason they are known as implementation subject matter experts. Basically, it's a technological team or development team, right? Then the operational support. So the operational support is basically to manage the day-to-day activities in the system or a product. Now, most of the common roles would be product analyst, help desk, a release manager, and operations analyst. So their major tasks would be to manage the day-to-day activities. It's a predefined activities, you can say. Project manager is responsible for movement of the project from the planning till execution and then delivery. Now the point is, BA also work same as a project manager, but the only major chunk of them as a project manager is to define the budget, cost, efforts, resources handling, quality and risk provided to the stakeholders, and also how the project will be planned. So that's moreover major responsibility for any project manager. Then the regulator, basically the quality standards that should be met, and the definition and an enforcement of standards, right? How does that each of the product or quality being enhanced. Now, some of them might be having a common role, like um, regulators bodies, or you have auditors, right? So those are the one who actually define the standards of the solutions that need to be met. Correct. Then you got a sponsors. Sponsors are nothing but every team would have a sponsor, or the project manager, or the product head, or the development head would also be a sponsor. Basically, it's he or she is the one who actually initiate the project, who actually identify the needs and and probably are capable, and their team is capable to develop a solution to satisfy those needs, right? So that's where the sponsor is. So sponsor can be an individual, can be a team as well, can be more over like a head, or the one who is like leading the team will also be a sponsor. So sponsors are the one who actually looks for more changes to provide a need so that the solutions can be created to meet those needs, and they have a greater scope of understanding, right? Next is supplier. Supplier is an external party, we can say, a third party, who are also known as like vendors, consultants, and providers. They work on contractual basis, but some or other they will be helping us with the product or services, right? They have all the moral rights and obligation that might be considered, right? So vendors, suppliers, both are same. Then you got testers. Testers are the one who actually verify the project or the solutions that must be met to solve those all needs, and also they have a proper lay of the how the process of verification should be there. They also ensure that the solutions must meet have a quality standards need to be checked, and the any of the product or services that should not have any risk, if there are any risk defects or any other risk identified, they will notify it back to the business analyst, and then again probably a rephase of that development will happen, and then again retesting. So these are the major stakeholders roles in the organization. Need not to be very specific about the designations, because QA also does testing. QA can also act as a regulator. The sponsor can be project manager as well, product head as well. Supplier, if you are working in a product based company, you don't have any suppliers. All the internal teams would be considered as your what you can say, a part of different shared team structure, where you will work for other team and provide a solution to them based on their needs, right? So that's more over of stakeholder. So this is a general understanding of how a stakeholder role can be defined. Next, moving to 2.5, that is requirements and design. So any requirements basically it will be a part of a need. So first we'll identify the need, and then we define the requirements. Once the requirements are defined, then if we actually sketch them, or if we draw out something so that we are assuming the solution would be something like that, then that's called a design. So requirements are focused on the needs, what you see there, and the designs are focused on the solution. So any requirement, basically any activity that is continuously performing as a business analyst, you see elicitation, We take the requirements from the stakeholders. We actually draw out all the information during our meetings from the stakeholders. We analyze them, we validate them, we manage requirements, and this is continuous process throughout the business analysis activities. Now, any business analyst are responsible for definition of design at some level. So we need to be defining that requirements, right? And in an initiative. So the level of responsibility for a design varies based on the perspective of what, how, or like who or which team you're involved in and what kind of experience a business analyst have. So at certain stage, in a general sense, you are dealing with the stakeholders on daily basis. You are collecting information, you are analyzing, you are validating it, and you are managing the requirements. Now, to show the progress of the requirement, to show how you are understanding the requirement, to show what is expected out of the requirements, you probably design it, and that's where come into picture by a business analyst. So business analysts design it may not to be a technical design. It can be a process design of how things are moving, how things will be flowing, and what would be the expected outcome from the solution. Now requirements. So basically, the distinction between the requirements and design is not always clear. What is mentioned there. So the techniques that are used to elicit, analyze, validate, and manage requirement can be also used to do the design. Okay, so the techniques can be same, but there will be somewhere we need to be having an understanding of how to discover them, right? Next, the classification of requirement design may become less significant and the business analyst's work process is greater understanding of eventual fulfillment of the need. That means um, this becomes less significant as the business analyst work progress of greater understanding of an event or like so any requirement when come into picture, you will have an understanding of how or how much or major requirement is dependent on. So if the requirement is very large or if the requirement is moreover having less significance on the business analyst work, then you probably will not be defining. And if the requirement is directly fulfilling the need, then we need not to worry about creating a design for every requirement, right? So we can you will gain understanding based on how you progress towards your development plan. So business analysis can be complex and recursive. A set of requirements may be used to define a need. So define a designing is based on the requirements. So requirements and design are closely related to each other. Okay, so we have some of the examples of how we can create a design for certain requirements. So there is a requirement from a company that 6 months sales data across multiple organization unit in a single view. So they need a single view where they can able to view the 6 months sales data across multiple organization. So now the design would be a sketch of a dashboard. So how do you design? That means you will draw a mock-up showing that you will have a date filter, you will have the sales data, you have an organization filter, you will have a view like a pie chart, or you will have a line chart, year on year, sorry, month on month trends for 6 months, and you will have KPIs and all other metrics shown. So that is just a design. You need not to build a report instantly, but you can assume that you are creating a design of that particular dashboard of the view, right? So that's a design. And why we have actually designed that? Because it will give them more view of how the output will look like, how the dashboard will look like, right? Now, reduce amount of time required to pick and pack of a customer order. Now, this is a requirement that we want to reduce the amount of time that is required to pick and pack. Now, we need to actually define a process model. How currently the process is working to pick and pack the customer order. Let's say the customer order is coming into the system, then A team is actually verifying the order, B team is actually then marking it as confirmed, then C team is basically picking it, and then D team is packing it, and E team is shipping it, right? Now that is the as is process. That means the current process is in the system. After analyzing, after finding out the best solution, how well we can do it, you can again create a design that is to be processed. That means instead of having two different teams for picking and packing, we can club them, or we can reduce the number of tasks. It can be through automations, it can be through the way of working as a Six Sigma lean, right? So that way you will able to see the difference between the as is, that is how the process is working now, and how the process would be in the future by 2B. So if you go and look as is 2B process model diagrams, you will able to understand it clearly. Next is the record and access medical patient's history. So basically we need to store the medical patients history data, and we should be able to access the data again. So how can we do that? Probably the end user would require a screen or a mock-up screen, basically as a solution, where he can able to enter the information about the particular customer, and should able to see when did the customer got admitted, what are the diseases, what is his information, and all other related fields to that particular patient. So in a mock-up, probably we can give a screen where you can give a button, you can give an option to type, enter, and what are the fields that are required. Next, that is develop business strategy and goals and objective of a new business. So if you want to build a new business strategy, a new goals and objective of a new business, you can create a business capability model matrix. That is a matrix which we can use to uh, do that business strategy, goals and objectives for a new business. Provide information in English and French. This is a simple requirement. How do you do that? We define a prototype. Prototype in a sense, the text need to be displayed in English and need to be displayed in French. So we can give an options there to choose between the languages, right? So if you look at the image there at the bottom, that is more majorly defined that any business requirement is then come to stakeholder requirement, the stakeholder requirement, then solution requirement, and then transition requirement. So business requirement, we say that why do I want it? You can ask the company that why do you actually want that this thing to be happen. Now let us take one example of uh, we just read it, right? So reduce amount of time required to pick and pack a customer order. Let's take that example. So why do you want to reduce the time? Because it's taking longer time, the orders are being delayed and all those. Now, what are the needs? The need is to reduce the time, right? That's the actual requirement. We want to reduce the time to pick and pack. And then what are the solution requirement? How can we do that? We can do that by automation. We can do that by changing the process. And what are the conditions? The condition is the system should be same, the flow should be same. The only thing that need to be changed is the time that need to be reduced. So this is all about requirement and design. Please stay connected to watch my next video, that is business analysis planning and monitoring, the chapter 3 coming soon. So stay tuned, watch my other videos. I know this is longer, but yeah, please watch and subscribe. Thank you.